been a while. I've tried a couple times already to make this video, so I'm a little wired right now. A little pissed that there's always an issue when trying to make something. A little bit of an editor's note here. I actually had issues with the audio for this recording as well. There's going to be parts where things look a little bit different, and that's just because I had to re-record those specific parts to try and match it up with what I had said the first time. So this video is just like a Frankenstein's monster of a video, but hope you enjoy. I just want to talk about the movies that I liked last year. The world is in a weird place. It has been for a couple years. Movies that came out last year were pretty scattered, few and far between, and because of that, we didn't make any lists for last year. But as far as movies last year, things were a little bit better. There were more movies that came out, more ways to see them, streaming, theaters. Because of that, a lot of things were easier to see. And because of that, I wanted to make a list. I wanted to talk about some of the movies that I really liked from last year. Of course, this is my list. It's a very subjective list. I would love to hear some of your favorites from last year. If you have a top 10, if you have just a couple favorites that you really enjoyed, put them down below. I would love to hear about them. But without further ado, let's start out with my list, starting with several honorable mentions. Great, now that's out of the way, let's talk about my top 10 favorite films of 2021. Belfast is a very personal film directed by Kenneth Branagh, a guy mostly known for Shakespearean adaptations and Gilderoy Lockhart. But it tells a story of a young boy and his family in Belfast, a time in Belfast history that I had no idea about. It is a loving family. It's a loving family, but he has a father who comes and goes a little bit, and it's nice to see the drama isn't between the family, but more so between what's going on in the city and them. There are parts of it that really stuck out to me that made me feel really emotional. I will say there are parts of it that do feel a little artificial. There's an artificiality to it at points. It feels like it's trying to manipulate your heartstrings a little bit. Other than those few moments, there are a few moments that like really brought an emotional response for me, and the black and white photography is absolutely stunning. This next one is a smaller known film that maybe a lot of people haven't heard of, directed by this fucking guy.
Cops will never pull over a man with a huge bong in his car. Why? They fear this man.
But it stars Reed Birney, Ann Dowd, Jason Isaacs, Martha Plimpton. They play two couples that meet up to talk about some stuff. And the less you know, the better, because it's a situation of you get a little bit, and then you get more, and you get more, and you get more, and you get more. And it eventually pays off when the film is over, when you have all the details. Perfect example of low-key, small, pretty much one set, one location. All the actors involved have some sort of experience with theater, and it definitely feels like that. It feels like a play without feeling like a play, if that makes any sense. And the performances are all stunning. Everybody gets their chance to chew up the scenery and chew up the dialogue, and it's well written. Not exactly a movie that you're going to want to rewatch, but I think it's definitely a movie that everyone should check out at least once. I'm a big fan of Guy Ritchie, especially his British crime, neo-noirish, fast-talking, dark humorous films. And this is kind of a step back to that after his bigger film with Disney. I think this movie's fucking awesome. Jason Statham's in it, and while I don't think the guy is like a great actor, this is what he's perfect for, and he's great in this. The music is awesome. It goes really well with the heist scenes and what's going on. The heists are awesome. The beginning one is like a long take. It's really fucking cool, and it deals a little bit with going back and forth in the timeline to see what some characters are up to and really leave you on your toes, trying to figure out who's who and who's the inside man. Guy Ritchie is a guy who really never stops working. I think he already has another movie coming out this year. Wrath of Man is just a intensely entertaining whodunit. Edgar Wright is one of, if not my favorite director working today. I love everything he does to differing degrees. My favorite stuff of his is his earlier stuff, his British stuff, his collaborations with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. I feel like some of his more, I guess, American films lost a little bit of the charm that he had from his earlier films. And while I do feel like there's some of that charm missing from this movie because he's working with a new screenwriter, one that he hadn't worked with before, I think for his first horror movie, I feel like he did a really good job. Genuinely entertaining. A lot of callbacks to Giallo films or films like Don't Look Now. Thomasin McKenzie is fantastic. I can't wait to see what she does. Anya Taylor-Joy kills it again, as she always does. And there's some great, I wouldn't even say cameos because they have played big parts, but some great performances from older actors such as Terrence Stamp and Diana Rigg, who actually passed away after the film was made, and the movie's dedicated to her. But I feel like she was great in it, and while I don't feel like it was terrifying, I feel like it did a good job of paying homage to films of the same genre and standard, while at the same time being something its own and being fresh and something that doesn't feel stupid like most horror films do nowadays. So I really enjoyed Joachim Trier's film from a few years ago, Louder Than Bombs, and this one was getting a ton of critical acclaim. So I figured I had to check it out. I love a good story about a flawed person, somebody who's vulnerable and trying to figure things out in life, because aren't we all at this point? The performance by
Renate Reinsve
was just absolutely stunning. She portrayed a very vulnerable and troubled and flawed person, which I appreciated a whole lot. She's fantastic in the movie. And one thing that I have noticed about Joachim Trier's films, just from the two that I've seen, is that he's not afraid to take his movies to a dark place. One that deals with dark themes and death and grief and depression and things of that nature. I'm just excited to see what he does in the future because I really enjoy what I've seen so far. And I just know that, anything Joachim Trier makes from now on, I'm going to be really excited to see because I enjoy his work and I think he's a talented director. All right. Top 5. Ridley Scott made a couple films this year, which is insane to think about considering how old the guy is, and he's still working diligently. But the one that I did see, the one that at least critically seems to be doing better, is The Last Duel. Real quick, I just want to talk about something that kind of was brought up with this movie coming out, because this is a big budget studio film starring big names. It's a period piece. It's slow, and it seems very much that people don't want to see that sort of thing, which is a little disheartening. It didn't make a lot of money. Nobody went and saw it. Critics really liked it. I mean, the scores all over the place are really good, but it doesn't seem like there was enough there to get people to want to see it, which is really unfortunate because it could be a watershed moment where studios don't want to take risks on things like this. Films that, like I said, it may be slower. It deals with harsh issues like rape. People just didn't seem to care. And I really enjoyed this movie a lot, and it sucks that it seems like we may not get movies like this for very long. People want to see what they want to see. The market will determine the market, and it seems like people want to go see certain things in theaters. Granted, it's a weird time. It's still a pandemic. There's so much to watch out there. I mean, you'll never watch anywhere close to everything that's out there. And it's so much easier to just pull something up on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or Criterion Channel, whatever. And maybe they'll start taking risks on movies that are on streaming platforms, but it just sucks, and I hope that's not the case. But otherwise, I really, really enjoyed this movie. It's told from the perspective of 3 different people. Rape accuser, somebody accused of rape, and the accuser's husband. And it's just interesting to see the different perspectives of how these people think they are. Who do you believe? Who's telling the truth? And spoiler alert, it ends in a duel. And the duel is fucking awesome. And I hope we see movies like this continue to come out. I'm a fan. I would say a big fan of 007 and the James Bond series as a whole. I feel like my favorite is Pierce Brosnan, but I feel like Daniel Craig is the best one as far as the quality of the movies that came out during his tenure. And this is one of the best ones. I mean, this one is awesome. The action is incredibly staged. It's amazing. The ending and the way everything was tied together as far as Daniel Craig's Bond, I think, was done about as well as you could have hoped. Thought it was a beautiful send-off and one that worked emotionally. One thing I will say is I feel like Rami Malek's villain was a little bit half-baked, which seems to be a big problem not only in the Bond franchise but in a lot of franchises in general, just film in general. And it's oddly not peculiar but just very coincidental that the villain in this film, while the movie was made before COVID really took off, it's just interesting to see that the character wants to create a virus that kills off half the population. But as a movie, I really, really enjoyed this one a lot. I think it's one of the best in the entire series, and I'm very curious to see where they take Bond from here on out. If I had to place bets, I would say that the new Bond would probably be... Let me just get this out of the way right here, right now. Kristen Stewart will probably win the Oscar, and I agree wholeheartedly with that. There was maybe one or two other performances this year that I felt were up to snuff with hers in this. I think her portrayal of Diana was absolutely incredible. It was very stylish and charismatic and gentle. Love how Pablo Larraín, I love the way that he's created these biopics about certain periods in a person's life, and I feel like that's maybe the best way to take on biopics from now on, because it seems like the best ones are the ones that deal with a certain period of time in somebody's life. A life is too much to cram into a movie, but a weekend like this one, it's a perfect amount of time for a movie. It displays the mental issues that Diana was going through, the issues with the Queen and the family as a whole, how secluded she felt, how abused she felt, and Kristen Stewart plays it with such grace. And I've thought a lot about this movie since I saw it. Mike Mills crafted something else super graceful with Come On, Come On. Joaquin Phoenix stars in it with Gabby Hoffman, Scoot McNairy's in it, and the young kid, Woody Norman, he's very good in it, but it essentially tells a story of a documentarian who goes across country with his nephew. And, you know, if you like road trip movies, if you like character pieces about damaged people, this is, you'll probably enjoy this one. There are a few moments throughout the film sprinkled in where he's talking to kids for his documentary, and I felt like those were some of my favorite parts, because you get to really, it felt real. You feel like you get to feel the inner workings of what kids are dealing with now and how hard it is to be a kid. Whereas I felt like as a kid, it was the easiest thing ever. You got to be a kid, and it doesn't feel like kids these days get the same thing, which is unfortunate. But the way they're able to see things in a more positive light, it's really, I guess, inspiring and lovely to see. There's hope, I guess. Plus, it's filmed beautifully in black and white. This may be cheating. This may not even be a movie. I don't give a shit, because it was my favorite thing that I watched last year. I've been a big fan of Bo Burnham as far back as I can remember. High school. Well, that's not as far back as I can remember, but that's where I discovered him. All the way back to the I'm Boyo phase when he was on YouTube. And I feel like with every iteration, with every thing he comes out with, it comes out at the perfect time. I'm Boyo was just like a kid cracking jokes, immature, gross humor. And in high school, I loved that stuff. I thought it was hilarious. And then he progressed and started coming out with different things. He came out with Words. He came out with Make Happy. He came out with What. He directed a movie, 8th Grade, which was about a girl in 8th grade at a point when I was already out of school. And yet I still related to it in a way. I feel like it has a lot to say. And the music is uber catchy. I listen to the songs all the time. I mean, I've seen the thing several times. It's just one of those things that really stuck with me. It's incredible what he was able to do with one guy. Like, it's not like me setting this up, filming myself, setting up a light, setting up a microphone, and just talking to a camera. Writing the songs, writing the music, performing, the way he sets up the shots, the lights. I mean, it's immaculate looking. It looks absolutely stunning. It's one of the best looking things there is out there. And it's impressive to see what he was able to do while struggling. It's like one of those things that, once again, it just came out at the right time and really did a good job at conveying what I was personally feeling during this whole crazy mess we've been going through. And you know, you can't go anywhere without hearing
Zuckerberg and Gates and Buffett, amateurs can fucking suck it.
Or
And now my stupid friends are having stupid children.
personally, I'm really happy he's as popular as he is now. It just means that every fucking asshole with a keyboard is gonna start creating their own music.
Pitch some shady business deal. When he stopped the car, he was yelling at me, so when he told me to get out, I thought